Right. So as I was saying, a feasibility plan really tries to answer these four questions. One, does the project have scope? And by scope, we mean what the project is concerned with. Does that make sense? I don't know if you've ever heard someone talk about this project has legs, or this project is shaky. They're talking about the essence of the project. And in a sense, one can say that that scope refers to the what, why, and maybe even the who. So does it have scope? What this project is about? Is that strong? Why this project is something that you should do? Have we not met this already? Why is this project important to do? And what are we thinking of doing with this project? You know, and that how is more in terms of, is it that we want to penetrate a market? Is it that we want to expand on a product line? Is it that we want to get into a new venture? And of course, whatever is in that how is what helps us to determine which one of those documents as well we should be using. We should be trying to build here to carry the project on the next level. And when we say carry the project on the next level, the project may just be an idea. And if it's just an idea and we're talking about carrying it to the next level, well, then we're talking about a feasibility plan. And if we've moved it from an idea and it's a project, as in we have some resources for it and we realize it could become a full-fledged business now, then we're talking about a business plan. And if it is a business, it is a business already, but nothing much really has happened with it. Some money making, nothing really, or no money at all, not much market exposure, then we're talking about a strategic marketing plan. And so when we talk about scope, scope is about what level this thing is at. Is it a good idea? Is it a good winnable project? This is why we had the worksheet we had before, project concept. Is it a project, having had some kind of effort or activity behind it already? Is it a business, or is it a case where this business now needs market exposure? What, why, and how? Does this project have scope? So if you can answer that, that helps to determine whether or not you're working with something that can naturally be examined, so that the feasibility plan itself, helps you to work in particular now with where it's an idea, whether it's a totally new idea or concept, or if it's a totally new idea or concept that falls within an existing business. Does everybody understand that? It's about newness. That's the point I want to make. Does everybody understand that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Any questions at this time about that?
No questions, but Dr. Malena just said she's having problems getting onto the platform. So she is hoping to join us shortly.
Okay. Malena is doing a feasibility plan. Is she? Okay. All right. Well, at least we're recording. Second question it tries to ask is, what is the context in which the project will operate? What does that sound like to you, class? When we talk about what is the context in business world, what could we possibly be referring to when we talk about context?
The environment that the business is going to be in, if it's a business. So the competitors, the audience, that sort of thing.
Yes, even if it's not about the project or business, the environment in which it's going to be operating in. And within that, we're talking about the competitive environment, the general environment, knowing who are the key stakeholders, who are the key markets. So the feasibility plan gets us to answer that particular question. Why is it important that we have a sense of that environment, of that context?
How you going blind?
Sorry?
You can't go in blind?
Of course you can, people do it.
Well, it don't make sense.
Why doesn't it not make sense?
Well, you're
Because you
looking
get
to invest money, you're looking to also get investors and stuff on board too as well. I mean, they will want to know whether or not they're making a good investment or not. And then having the information concerning the context too as well, the environment lets you know too as well what exactly you're going to be facing if it is you decide to go forward with the project too as well. Um,
Right.
because I mean, this is the information you want, whether or not to go forward or not. Do you have enough
Correct.
resources and stuff, to compete
Correct.
with the other competitors, and them too big for you to, make a play in the field? How big do
Correct.
you go? How small do you go? That kind of thing. So it's
Correct.
critical information here.
Correct.
yeah,
Correct.
it
Correct.
would inform your decision making basically.
Yeah,
Correct.
yeah.
Exactly. Correct. Because suppose I am Mr. So and so's daughter and we are already successful here in the economy. People go give us their money, but you still would want a feasibility plan. And why is that? And it's for all of what has just been said there. Because ultimately, this plan is being used to determine whether go with it or tank it, right? Go through or flush. And it may seem like a lot of work to do just to answer that simple question. But as an entrepreneur, a creative entrepreneur, I think you would feel more comfortable to know that you've done what I like to call that rough working, so that when you're going forward, you know you're going forward on a point of strength. And going forward more than likely would carry you to making a business plan in the next stage, which means therefore that you would already have some of the information that you need, having done the feasibility study that would go into the business plan. So it's not in vain. And on the other side, if it isn't doing the feasibility plan is recognized, maybe this is not a good thing to do right now, well then, that is good because the feasibility plan can then recommend as well how might be a better way to approach this, that you don't necessarily lose the initial idea. For those who are doing a feasibility plan, do we understand that? Right? Because
Yes.
it's not a case where you're doing the feasibility plan and you're going to write it and cook the book so it will say, well, it's a winner and we're going through. But if it is in the way it was initially proposed and you're doing the research and whatever and it's realized, okay, it can't happen this way, but it can happen that way, that is okay. Then towards the end of the document somewhere, it is that it will recommend. And I'm not talking about a major shift, because if you realize that and is a major shift, well then by all means you will build the feasibility in that regard. But if, for example, it says it works out that it is clear that it wouldn't work being located in Trinidad, but better in Tobago then, so to speak, because of whatever reasons. And it should go to Tobago first and then Trinidad. Then those recommendations should speak to that and explore as to how that should go in some kind of way. Everybody understands that?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yes.
Right. I want to be sure that everybody gets that. It sounds a little tricky, but it's not quite. It's about a kind of honesty. Um, because you could cook the book, but then in cooking the book, that may not be the reality in which the project is going to be operating in. So you deal with what is there, which is why it's so important to understand that context, right? And in analyzing the context, you may be able to tweak some of those things in any event. Um, and therefore you could land on your feet. So the feasibility exercise itself is very useful for tweaking where necessary. Okay?
And it comes back to what you said. We can't fake it. This has to be something that can actually work. Cooking the book
That's
is
right.
faking it. So yeah.
That's right. You can't fake it. No. You see? So thirdly, do I have the resources necessary for this project? Right? So the feasibility planning, going through that exercise, it helps you to identify what are the resources that are necessary to propel it, and if you have those. And I don't know if you've met this already in Strat, but we do something called a resource audit to determine that. And a resource audit is usually where you try to have and don't have access to. And of course, the feasibility study will want that you will try to identify how you will get at what you don't have and what it's going to cost you. You see? So as far as I know, in Strat, you're supposed to learn about a resource audit. If it is that it does not happen, I will address it. I have a lecture where I call toolkit of certain pieces of analysis that you would need regardless of the plan that you have to do. So I will deal with it then, okay? If it does not come up.
Thank you.
Right. Right. Will the project get us the return on investment that we need and expect? And that is where all of what you would have learned with Miss Joseph then comes in handy. That's where what they call the commercial feasibility or the financials. And later down in the lecture, we will meet where there are a few key questions that are raised to help guide you as to what your financial statement should be showing to be able to answer this question. This is like the big picture question, but there are a series of other questions that one can certainly seek to answer to be able to ensure that we are probing and we've been able to show how the project or the idea that we're working on is feasible, financially feasible. Okay? So that the underlying intent of the feasibility plan could be seen as, just a minute. Yes, the underlying intent of the feasibility plan could be seen as really covering these three areas to understand thoroughly all aspects of your project. For those of you who are doing feasibility, not that that wouldn't happen with the others, but most certainly when you're going through the feasibility planning exercise, one becomes very au fait with the inside out of the project, because you not only have to question the project itself, but you have to question and try to discern whether it matches well with the context in which it will be operating, the market, whether there's more money, even things like how long you think you could launch the project without making money, or if it's not for profit, it's not for profit. How long could the project run without necessarily having some kind of money coming in to sustain it? Even when it's not for profit or it's for charity, you still have to do those projections. You know, for example, if your project was to throw up a dance studio for children in rural areas that can't get to community centers or they don't have a dance program in those areas, how long can you possibly go without funding? You know, you may have been promised funding and the project has gotten a nod, but whatever may be going on in the market or in the context suggests that you need to start now. It may be a case where what you're teaching them is for children who are actually pursuing dance in the secondary school system. You do dance in the secondary school system now, don't you? Yes or no?
Yes. Yeah.
Right, exactly. So the dance curriculum starting in September, right? But it may be a case where you're not going to get that funding till maybe December or the second term. So how long can you go? Is it that somebody gonna loan you a building, or is it that whoever you're getting the space from, they're going to do it out the rent until January? So these kinds of questions come up as well. It's like you have to imagine the project happening. What are the things that could pop up? And therefore, that's why we say that the feasibility plan or study forces you to try to understand all aspects of the project, beginning, middle, end, even in terms of beyond planning, because it's like you have to imagine it in execution mode to know what you're mapping there in that feasibility plan, to be able to ask and answer certain questions. And therefore, I suppose then number two then makes a lot of sense as to the other underlying intent. that you become aware of any potential problems that could occur while you're implementing the project. And then, of course, last but not least, as Alicia, as Psyche already said, to determine if the project is viable, if it could work or not, if this makes sense to go forward with or it don't. Any questions or comments about that?
Nope.
No.
Very detailed there.
No, I'm clear.
Right. So these are just some tips just for you to have in mind. I know that you have these slides and you'll go back because we are going to get into how you actually will build it. But just so you can have in mind as we go further into the lecture, some of the things that we think are very important when you go in to build this feasibility plan. It's a case where you can talk with people without divulging too much of what you plan to do, you know, to get some feedback. I know sometimes you might see surveys being run, or you might say, if I were to open a parlor on the corner of what street and what street, you think people would support it? Would you buy from it? Or if there was to be a parlor at wherever. It's simple like that. But depending on what you're doing, whilst that kind of feedback is quite useful, of course, it is even more useful when you actually throw up a survey. And you can certainly use platforms like SurveyMonkey. Is everybody familiar with that one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So SurveyMonkey is very useful in terms of being able to throw out a quick survey. And the beauty of being online now more than anything else is that you can remain anonymous. You could always send it out to people and say, doing this on behalf of a client or doing this on behalf of someone, so they don't have to know it's you. You know, so there are opportunities now where one can just send out those surveys and get that feedback that you need that will tell you whether or not what you are working on can make sense. And again, of course, notice the word stakeholders there. So it's not like you're sending it to any and everybody, but you're sending it to who the project would be of relevance. Okay, the stakeholders, or what may be a potential market, that those are the catchment groups that you would look to get that feedback from. And stakeholders don't only mean market. Stakeholders could be potential suppliers, wholesale buyers if it's a product, or if it's a service, people who may want to partner with you, institutions, so on and so forth. Analyze and ask questions about your data. That data we're referring to there is any and everything that you find out about your project, and we call that triangulating, meaning to say, if somebody give you information one source, you can always check it back another way to ensure that what you're being told makes sense. What you're being told does have potential or is a possibility. So you might hear of a bank offering some kind of special opportunity for small businesses, but some of the details that you've been told may not be very clear, or it might be sketchy. So you want to triangulate that. So these kinds of little tips here, some of it you will see in terms of actually there in the document. So for example, right on the organizational. So the one that is normally asked for with feasibility is an organizational plan. I would not be expecting in the feasibility plan that there's a business plan, but somewhere between organizational operational, I would expect to see that, right? Because of course a business plan is being treated as a separate document in this course. Right? So some of the tips you would see there in the document itself, like certainly the last three, last four, but these two are really to ensure that whatever you are putting in that plan is valid and of course reflects the reality. As we keep saying with feasibility, we cannot fake it to make it with the feasibility. Everybody understands that, class?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. Quick question. Are
Yes.
any of those plans going into the marketing strategy? Like organizational goes into feasibility, operational might go into feasibility, and well, a business plan is a business plan. But any of those will also have to be like attached to the marketing.
Well, it depends on the kind of plan that you're working on, and when we get there, when we cross that bridge, we'll get there. Try to focus on this one and not try to cross pollinize, so to speak.
All right.
Right? Because a marketing plan is a different kind of animal, so to speak. It tends to focus more, as the word suggests, the money to do with marketing, the structures to do with marketing, and so forth. So that a marketing plan for sure doesn't necessarily need an organizational plan, because it's really focused on the business of demand and supply, that aspect, if you understand what I'm saying, in terms of how you go about supplying, and then of course demand, what is built around ensuring that there's a demand, and what's built around ensuring that you will have markets or segments that want whatever it is you're offering. Operational now, an operational plan is basically how the thing is going to roll out. So for a feasibility, one can certainly have that. You will also see that in a business plan. Operational in the marketing plan context will be how it's going to roll out in terms of the marketing. You see? So that's why I said don't cross pollinate, because it could confuse you. So
Because
let's
the technology is different between different
yes,
documents, I
yes,
guess.
yes, indeed. Right? And we know, as we say, not a business plan, but I don't take out things to confuse, because if you go online, this is what you will see. But I'm saying to you that in our course, for the purposes of our course, and I mean, let us be realistic. You are doing it for an assignment still at the same day. To expect that you would do a feasibility plan that would include that, or that you would do a business plan to include that, and you just have a few months to do it, it's really not reasonable. Right? So that is how it would go. And for sure, these kinds of things now you could find in any document. But again, for the feasibility plan, they are very important, because again, now remember that word feasible is about, can this work? So even where the dollars and cents are concerned, they want to know whether or not this can work. And one of the reasons I include this here as a tip is because I have found it useful, where even before I start to develop the feasibility plan in full, I try as a preliminary to create these things. And of course, when I have finished the plan, I go back and see how much it has changed. How much, to what extent has those figures changed from what I initially thought it would be, or what I initially expected it could be. Does that make sense, class? Because it gives you a sense as to how much your project has grown, and how much you, in terms of managing and handling the realities of this project, have grown from when you would have initially started on the plan itself. Does that make sense to you all?
It
So
makes
that's just
sense.
one of the ways you could do. That's just a tip. You don't have to, but I find it useful. Because
Okay.
it's like, wow, I was way out, or wow, I really hit this nail on the head, boy. And it encourages you to go back and revisit. Comes back to this same tip number 2. Go back and ask questions and check back your stuff to ensure that what you have there is valid. Everybody's clear on that?
Yes, very. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. So when doing a feasibility study, it's always good to still have a contingency. And this is kind of like what I was saying before when I saw Jeremy there nodding his head about, let's say in doing it, you realize what you thought it could be, it may be better, like when I was using my Tobago example. So that's the contingency inside of there. So that one can do a quick contingency plan there to map out where it would be better to market that product or service in Tobago first before coming back over to Trinidad. Everybody understands that? So that is how we treat with it inside of the feasibility plan. It's not a case like if you end up doing all this work in vain. It's not a case of that. The feasibility plan will still show that the project makes sense to do. It would still show that the markets that you're targeting for the project make sense. But what might have been in terms of how the operational plan was going it seems as if in trying to do it in Trinidad first, you may not get as much bang for your buck as if you started in Tobago. And so the plan A may still be operating in Trinidad first, but you can put then plan B is to start in Tobago. And if I start in Tobago, this is what it looks like. Everybody understands that? And that is what we mean by a contingency. And that contingency plan would also take into consideration some of the risk factors that you would have identified in a particular section of the document. And that is why contingency comes towards the end when you are building your feasibility plan somewhere inside of there by the recommendations. Everybody understands that?
Okay, yeah.
And so what you are showing to the investor is that even if this way that I have done the feasibility study on, this particular way in total has these little kinks, I recognize these risks, this is my plan B, so I know for sure this is going to fly. You see? It's like covering all your bases. Does everybody understand that before I go on?
Yes. Yeah.
Right. So these are the main components. Ooh, there's a lot of words. I'm going to break this up. Too many words for me. All right. Before I send this to y'all, I'm going to break this up. So these are the main components of the plan. Executive summary. I feel as if I want to break it up even now. All right. Let's see how we can make this easier on the eyes. So executive summary. Well, do we know what an executive summary is?
Is that like an overview of it's like an overview of the entire findings of the plan of the study of research?
Yes. So the executive summary is like an overview, and that is usually constructed after you've completed the document. So all three documents will have an executive summary. And the reason why it's constructed after is that it has to reflect what is in the document. So the assumption is that you can't know what's going to be in the executive summary until you've done it. But it's placed at the front of the document, you see? And executive summaries are very important because in real world scenario, sometimes this is what is clipped by the investor to put in his own portfolio or if he has to share it with somebody else, you see? So the executive summary needs to be done well. In some instances, for some short times, the executive summary is what the panel would have. And that's what they might have the document there, but the executive summary is what they will look at. And they will ask you questions on that. And if something they're not sure of, they may go into the body of the document. So that executive summary becomes very important, you see. Yes? Then you have your introduction, which will be the intent of the plan and why the plan is important, considered important at this time, and the outline of the plan, meaning what they will find in the document. And then we come to the different kinds of feasibility. So you will see on this slide, this one, and the one following, that there are three sets of feasibility exercises that you go through. The first is your technical feasibility, and this is about the product or service itself. This is trying to get a sense of what is known already out there about that product or service, and whether or not, even though stuff may be known about the product or service, in answering these questions, you're able to show how is it that this product will still fly in spite of that. So Nivedita comes to mind. Is she in class today? Remember last week's conversation?
Yes.
Right. So you notice now, is it feasibility you're doing? I'm trying to remember now.
No, business plan.
Business plan. Right. So feasibility is one where if it is that there's this market presence out there already, might be stronger than you, but your thing may have a USP and it's totally new. Right? These are the questions that you would answer to be able to show the feasibility, what we call the technical feasibility. And the thing with feasibility requires you, not that the others don't require research, but feasibility requires a lot of research because, of course, you're going out there and having to ask questions to find out how this thing would really work. And it's advised that even for those of you in real world scenario, even if you have a business and you may have to do a business plan for something, I would advise that you try always to do a quick feasibility plan to see what aspects of it can work and the parts that can't, how you can tweak those to make sure that it would fly. So that when you come to the business plan, it's a lot easier than to build, right? So technical feasibility. Then we have market feasibility, and that really encompasses two things. Trying to understand the existing market, and you are learning this now in marketing, and marketing strategy. Now it says describe it in detail, but again, because of the fact that marketing plan is a separate document here as an option, here what is really required of you is to put this strategy out just in the basic P's, which I know that you're learning with Miss Brooks. So you first have to do from market feasibility to examine what is going on in the existing marketplace, right? What market segments you're targeting, who would buy the product or service, who are the potential customers, where you will find them, how you plan to sell this product and service, who are your competitors, etc. And you can make a note of this. One of the key tools, and we will talk about that one in our toolkit lecture as well, that helps with this is the Porter's 5 forces analysis. So I actually will be sharing with you all my arsenal, as I like to call it, of analytical tools that I use to build my various plans that I've been using since time immemorial, and they still work.
Could you please repeat that one, the
5 forces analysis. Michael Porter's 5 forces analysis. And that helps with being able to analyze the existing marketplace. And then for marketing strategy, I believe in the P's, but I don't like the 4 basic P's. I find for creative enterprises, there is a set of P's that are a little more useful, particularly when one has to build these kinds of documents. And I will share those with you all as well. But I'm pretty sure Ms. Brooks will give you those if she has not as yet, right? So it goes beyond product, price, place, promotion, but it also encompasses things like people and process. You see? And I like to include those because people and process are important to the kinds of business that we are in, not so? In the creative industries, process highlights the creative or innovative side of it. I suppose one can say process deals with the product, the production cycle, the culture of production, or the production of culture cycle. And people, of course, deal with all of the stakeholders to whom whatever we're doing would be relevant. Any questions about that class? Right. Then we have commercial feasibility. And commercial feasibility deals with the financials. And of course, this is where a lot of what we would have learned with Ms. Joseph now becomes relevant and is important. What are your strengths and weaknesses? So that is the SWOT analysis. We will learn that as well. But beyond that, so this SWOT now has to do with the monies, the dollars and cents, so to speak. Money matters. What are the potential sales? So you have to think about projections. And even if it's not for profit, it may be sales in terms of what are the potential revenue streams, what are the income streams, what pricing structure you'll use, what are your sensitivity points in terms of sales, return on investment, how long can you survive without a sale, what is your break-even point, and so on and so forth. So commercial feasibility is very important across all 3 of the plans. But in this one, your job is to show how the money can make sense. Does everybody understand that? Because even if it's a good project idea and the money does not add up, well, you know, you have a challenge where feasibility is concerned. And then the last two will be required staffing, outlining what are the human capital needs for it. You include an organizational chart, and then schedule and timeline. And in a sense, to answer Janelle's earlier question again, this, or part of her question rather, this is where or how within the feasibility plan, the operational plan is outlined in this sense. Okay, everybody understands that, so you can make a note of that. So where it says schedule and timeline in the feasibility plan, this refers to the operational plan. Any questions about that, class? Everybody's here or they gone?
We are here.
Yeah, we're just kind of
We're just
thinking.
writing down operational plan.
Yeah, me too.
Any questions or comments about that? Is that clear?
Required staffing, schedule and timeline. Okay, operational plan.
Right.
What's the thing before organizational? Okay.
Okay, and then our last two elements here is where we do the overall risk assessment, right? And somewhere in there, I'm going to put a separate bullet and put contingency plan there so that you won't forget. Because usually when we do overall risk assessment, the contingency plan falls in there. But I will put it as a separate thing so you can note. So you will have overall risk assessment, and after that, you'll do the contingency plan as we discussed before, and then findings and recommendations. And that basically makes up your feasibility plan. Those are the key components of it. So again now, once we have gone through, so next week now we will look at the business plan, and the following week we will look at the strategic marketing plan. And then the week thereafter we have our toolkit lecture, so that there are certain, as I said, there are certain key pieces of analysis or analytical tools that we will discuss there in further detail. So risk assessment, how we go about doing our risk analysis is also one. We would also look at the stakeholder analysis. We would look at the Porter's 5 forces analysis as well. I believe I had said resource audit as well. Right? Any questions about that, class? Or are we good so far?
We're good so far.
All right. So what I've done here now is just to outline the steps for you in terms of how you will go about building that plan so it's comprehensive, because all of what we had there now is the guide and what the document could look like, right? And what we have here now are the actual stages that we would imagine that you would go through, or how you could do it to ensure that you stay on track and that you can build your document properly. So the first will be to conduct preliminary analysis. And that, of course, has to do with going through the elements that we've just discussed there. And you first trying to understand what is basic simple things. What is the market space that you should be operating in? And when we talk about market space, in the first instance, is this virtual or is this a physical space? And if it's a physical space, where exactly? And if it's virtual, what platform or platforms are you using? You should be able at that stage to be able to identify what is your USP, what is the uniqueness, the unique characteristics of your project or idea. If there are any weaknesses around it, how you would work around those weaknesses, that the strengths of it in terms of its characteristics, its unique strengths can shine and show. And then even though you have a risk analysis to do later on, at this stage, you will do some preliminary analysis to find out what those risks might be still. What are some of those risks? And of course, as I said before, you could even do a little preliminary budget, which you will, of course, reevaluate when you come down to step 5.
Dr. Sorry, is there a difference between the preliminary analysis and then you have current analysis? Oh, it's
right. Not really.
okay.
When they say, okay, so the term current analysis here refers to all those analytical tools I was just identifying. So
Okay.
when you have to do a SWOT analysis, when you have to do 5 forces analysis,
Okay.
right? So that's what they're referring to. Because preliminary is like you doing a kind of scan. And in a sense, some of what we were doing in our first set of worksheets fall in part that. So that when, for example, we can go back and use Nivedita's project, that would have happened in terms of the workshop and what have you, would fall into preliminary analysis for her, because she would have done, even though she may not have known that's what she was doing at the time, she would have engaged in what I would have called a risk assessment. And she was thinking, nah, maybe this might not work at all. You see? So preliminary is when you're kind of surveying the scene and you're looking at the optics and you're trying to note down what are some of the things out there that might prohibit this, so that when you come down to doing risk assessment, you already know that some of those factors are existing out there, and you would have done then enough analysis or research coming down through these stages here that would help you to arrive at some contingencies then towards those factors that could work against the project that you have in mind. Do you understand that?
Yes, thank you.
So outlining this project scope is, or what, why, as we say, and this conducting current analysis, this is where we would have our external environmental scan and our research audit. So inside of here, this is where you might do a SLEP analysis or a pestle analysis, and you could even have your cows analysis inside of here if you choose to do it like that. And of course, you have your resource audit, which would give a sense of what you have at your disposal, what you have that would allow you to push forward with the project, what you don't have, but how you're going to work around that. 3 now is where you compare now your idea now with what exists out there. So that is where now you can have a criteria as things like usability. How does yours match up to that? User friendliness, cost, location, access, delivery, time it reaches market. So notice this is not set in stone. I'm just identifying factors to you because everybody's feasibility plan then becomes different in a sense depending on what is the business that they are in, what it is the project that they're trying to launch. So in looking at what exists out there, you will be trying to identify particular dimensions, and then you would try based on those dimensions, so things like market access, delivery, where they operate from, who are their market segments, how well their product works. It may be that you are capitalizing on a particular weakness of that business. So maybe it is I don't know, somebody give me their business idea again. Somebody give me their project. Is anybody here doing feasibility though? I thought so. Maybe a 1 or 2. Who is?
I am doing feasibility.
That is who? Psyche?
No, Janelle.
Janelle is doing feasibility, right? So tell me.
Could you repeat the question? You want
right. Yeah, just give me an idea again of what you said.
What is your project, Gil? What is your project?
My project is to kind of assess the viability of doing starting an events company that focuses on doing drama dramas or, you know,
Interesting.
yeah.
Very interesting. What you said, Jamet dramas, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm pointing it as.
So, all right. Perfect. Right.
Can I ask a question?
So, oh, you can ask a question.
Question.
What's the difference between that and what's already on the market? As in like the America dance and them kind of things,
Why
as
are you
Jamet
doing
drama.
that? I tell you, you cannot ask
Oh,
the
sorry.
question before I answer mine.
Sorry, go ahead. Feasibility,
Right.
yes.
Yeah, that's the point.
I
And
try to
because
point
it
out-
doesn't, what I want to do, because the content of what I want to do, it doesn't exist right now because of the content and the direction that it's focused. I need to figure out if the reason that it doesn't exist is because there is no market for it, or if, as I suspect,
Of course, there's a market for it. This is a
right,
bacchanal nation.
exactly. Or if I suspect, you know, the rules and regulations and respectability laws that and practices that exist are the ones that are kind of stifling it and not allowing people to, you know.
Really? And Rachel is the queen of that?
Yeah, but then that's the next thing about quality and, you know, sustainability and uniqueness. And so those are the kind of things I need to just kind of analyze. And
so basically you have answered the question without me even asking it. Class, you understand? Because based on the point that we were on just was talking about. So remember the point I made initially that there's no set list. It depends on what you're focused on, that you're doing the feasibility plan on. And Janelle just listed a few factors there, one or two that I didn't even call, that would be useful for her to question in relation to her own project idea in relation to whatever already exists out there. Do we get that, class? You all understand that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Who is the other possibility?
I am doing a feasibility study.
Who is speaking now?
Psyche.
Right, okay. So that making sense, right? Oh, sorry. I apologize. Right. So for examine marks, and we spoke about that already. A lot of that you will be learning in marketing. But as I said, I am going to, and I will probably even have Miss Brooks come and do a guest lecture. If not, she'll get somebody else too. Because I always like them to come back into this course now and kind of connect those dots for you from what they would have taught you or teaching you and placing it out in the context of the practicum, you see. Sometimes people would assume because you learn it so well, you know it. Yes, you know it, but context to me is always important. I find when one has context, it opens the eyes some more. So that I certainly will want this revisited in terms of a lecture. If not in the practicum class, I will have her address it inside of the actual class for marketing. But when you're doing a feasibility plan, you have to examine those market conditions because this is what will help to determine whether or not this thing really can make money and whether or not it can be sustainable. And even more importantly, whether or not it can grow beyond how you may have it at this particular point in time. The feasibility plan is supposed to help you to determine how it can pivot, if it can pivot, and how and at what point in time, so that when you're doing your presentation, your expectation is to hear in 3 or 4 years' time it could do this or it could do that, or in 2 years it may not be able to do this, but in year 3 I expect Y or Z because I'm doing this in place, I'm going to put that in place, and the market is suggesting this and that, and the third and fourth will happen. And you can only talk that when it is, you see these two steps here, 3 and 4, this is what will allow you to come to particular kinds of conclusions such as that. And then of course, last but not least, to understand your financial costs. Now, these are the broad steps. This does not take away from what I've shown you before on the slides. Please understand that, because I don't have in here and then do risk. But in general, this is how you would go along the building the feasibility plan in terms of your activity. Of course, the expectation is that you will still do a risk analysis. But if you look at it, class, from the time you start here and you go right down to 5, you will be picking up risks, not so? Not so? So the idea is that every time you do one of,
yes? I don't think I saw your cursor, so I don't know where here is. I don't know.
Right. So I am saying from the time you start from step 1, you go down to 2 and 3 and 4, right down, you will be picking up risks. That's all. So the point is, as you go through each of these stages, you will know what those are. And when you come to do the actual risk assessment, which would come after this, you would then be tasked with identifying how you will work around the risk. You would have been noting them to yourself as you go through the various stages. You see? But now when you come to building it in that section of the plan now, you would sit down now and think of them now. Okay, how will I address that risk? How can I work around that? And then based on that, you would come up then with what we call the contingency plan or your plan B. Does everybody understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Lovely. A word about creative business feasibility. And I always like this. I remember once Googling creative business feasibility for creative businesses, and this gentleman came up. He has a site and he does a lot of work in terms of business plans and feasibility and whatnot for creative enterprises. But take a look at this. And this is what I was talking about last week and week before. It's creative, but is it a business? Right? So that for it to be feasible, it has to match the creative passion, or the creativity has to join with a business focus. Okay? So it can't be that just because it's creative and you're good at it, that it therefore would be a business or that it would be successful. And so before you even say you're going to embark on any one of these plans, I think it's useful that you look and think about whether or not the passion or the creative, the nucleus of the idea, which we know is creative, if you have found a business focus to layer into it. And to me, that is how we end up with creative entrepreneurship. If it is just about the talent or what you're good at alone, then that is just creativity. But if it is that we are matching that now with some kind of innovation or business design, now we are arriving at creative business and creative entrepreneurship. Right? And it is not right, of course, for us to assume because we may be creative and we're very good at it, that therefore it ought to be successful or it should be given a bly, as we like to say in Trinidad. Everybody's clear on this? Very key point. And why this is here is that as we go along building, especially the feasibility plan, that we don't lose sight of this. Sometimes you have to be mean then, you have to be hardcore, so to speak, on what you are investigating, because the creativity or the creative side of it can take over and you may give justification to it because it's a strong creative idea. That's not enough. You are doing the feasibility study because you want to be rigorous with it to ensure that it can pass the various tests of being a business, a sound business. Is everybody clear on that?
Clear.
Okay.
Crystal.
Right. So let's look at a real world example here. I say real world. I kind of make it up, but it's still, it could happen. Is everybody seeing the screen properly?
Yes.
Yes. So a popular music production company, and they tend to focus on the two of the local genres, because we have other local genres, but popular culture, soca and Trinidad music. But they operate in a wealthy community. Don't call no names, we record it. But just imagine one. Wealthy community in Port of Spain. Right? Everybody have one in their mind?
Yeah.
Had long desired to expand its space to offer full entertainment space, including a nightclub, a radio station, and performing arts rehearsing studio. They get money, they get a big investment, some euro dollars, and they going for it. Right? It kept putting off the project, however, because the administration had certain reservations. Because this production company, they have a board, right? They worried about public opinion of the neighborhood. The original home of the company for more than 50 years was a theater. So kind of like a, what's that lovely one called, that space there in Goodbrook? That was Burl McBurney's home.
Little Carrot.
That's right. So imagine before this production company moved there, this was home to like a little Carib, and you know the original structure is still there, but they would have built the production company around that. But now they want to expand because we know how that goes sometimes. Sometimes those original spaces would have had a lot of land, you know, so they have the room to expand. But in the past, when it is that they would think of doing this, the community board, in other words, the community has a board. I don't know if you all know, a lot of these gated communities have boards. You all know that, right?
Yeah.
Like even where I live, there's a board here. So the community has a board, and they rejected similar ties. But this is the first one where they want to go for broke because there's a company in Europe that wants to back this. Finally, the company wondered if there would be some legal and political issues that might impinge upon its plan. Um, do we see how a feasibility study would be of use here?
Yeah.
And in what way can each person identify one of the things the feasibility study would address based on the scenario outlined here? Just pick one. Everybody has to do one. See if you can earn a little 1% today for
I will
your
go first.
contribution.
I think the context is very important. The circumstances surrounding
Choose
where
one. Which one you're looking at?
the context.
Which context?
The context of the location of the place and what it means, the circumstances that surround where it is versus what they would like to place in, which seems like a residential community.
Right. So the context. So which one of those analyses that we just did would address that? Somebody else. Let's choose a name. Alicia. Which one of those stages or pieces of analysis that we were discussing there would address that in terms of what Janelle said? What would they have to do to address, to explore context, as she said? Where everybody gone?
No, I'm right here. Would a SWOT analysis work there?
It could. What might be another piece of analysis before you get by the SWOT?
Let me see, there was a preliminary analysis, then they had the current analysis.
That's right. Yes, you're correct. Calling in there like the pestle and those kinds of things. Yes, you're correct.
Okay.
Okay, Naomi, what's another issue that the feasibility study might could address?
I am thinking the actual service. When I say the actual service, is there a real need for this in this place? As Janelle said, the context, but I'm thinking of is there anything like this in this area here? So will it be a novel item and a novel service, a novel product if you want?
Okay, so you have answered it correctly. You land on your feet, but it can't be about context in that regard because we already see they getting some licks for that possibly. So we know that they don't have anything like that in the neighborhood, right? But what your point about, is this novel enough? Will it garner the attention that they need? Is it worth doing that expansion then, fighting up with them? Are they going to, is this product going to be sustainable? That is correct. So what did we learn about that addresses that? Who around? Who was present? Jaron. I just calling name random. This how
Yeah.
you pay attention.
Mm-hmm.
So what aspect of the feasibility planning that we discussed earlier would deal with what Naomi just suggested there as one of these things the feasibility plan would look at?
Yeah, maybe I missed what Naomi said. Naomi, rhyme what you said, please.
Oh my goodness.
I said essentially in the considerations they have to bear in mind, is this a novel idea? Can it be sustained? Yeah, product. Will it be able to be sustained in this space? So is the novelty of the product.
All right, so that'll be the market. That'll be the market research and the market survey to figure out if it makes sense for the market that it's in. That would be the aspect of it.
Right. Okay. Hillary, what's another issue that it might address?
I'm looking at the location, the building itself.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, my fear is like, I think the building was destroyed, right? That's demolished.
No, building wasn't destroyed, but who knows what will happen. So therefore,
Uh,
so they may have to what?
but then they will have to do, is it a financial cost of the building?
Yes.
Location.
Yes, they may have to do, so not they may, we know they will. So in that financial assessment, they will have to do some focus on the building. They might even have to do one of those, what they call environmental scans in terms of architectural physical space
Okay.
to determine whether or not doing an expansion will it disrupt the building even more, will it affect the aesthetic of that original building and that kind of thing. But yes, those will be some money issues. And then what about this part at the bottom here? They're wondering if it is that it may impinge on political and legal issues. How would they go about, how would the feasibility deal with that? What aspect of the feasibility?
I think they can do a survey to find
That's
out whether or
right.
not there would be that type of problem regarding the political fallout.
That's right. That's right. They can do a survey, and that survey could be contextualized in risk assessment so that in all, they would be able to determine what is the depth of that particular problem through the survey. And then in carrying it through the risk assessment process, it will help them to even come up with a contingency with a plan B. Agreed? Now, I don't know if you all ever heard of Caribbean Sound Basin. Everybody should.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't know what happened when that was built or anything, but that was built in a highly residential community.
In St. James, that's Amar, right?
As Amar Studio, right then, across from
Long Hill Mall.
they're right there by the country club, that stretch there.
Country Club, right? Yeah.
That's a very, very well-to-do area. And that studio at one point in time was the only studio that could have held an entire steel pan orchestra in it for recording. They have that size of a studio, you know. But this was not them. I constructed it based on something I was reading and I thought of them. So that look at that, something as real as that. The business is already existing, but here it is. You have this opportunity, this big money in euro dollars coming for you to do all of this. And you can't just agree, and that's why I structured it like that. Don't care how much the opportunity is looming there before you. That looks like a really good idea, you know. Um, it's important that you do that feasibility work to be sure, because you may still be able to take advantage of the idea, but it's a matter of how you're going to take advantage of it. You see, and so the feasibility study allows for you to determine what's the best way to angle going forward. So then it's kind of like a win-win. You know, you kind of get your cake, have your cake and eat it as well. Everybody understands?
Can I ask a
Yeah.
question,
Sure,
please?
go ahead.
So what if when you do your feasibility study, I mean, every indication is that this thing is not going to work, and even your contingency plan, yeah,
Then
would
something
indicate
is
that, yeah,
your,
okay.
your contingency plan can't be showing that it can't work. Then it's not a contingency plan.
Okay.
And if it is as bad as that, it means that you either did not engage in preliminary assessment or you did not do it properly.
Okay.
You see? But the whole point of contingency is that it's a plan B. It's something that would allow this thing to work out in a different way.
Okay.
You see?
So, Dr.
Yes?
Dr. Tol, could they have also done like applied the Porter's 5 forces to determine whether the expansion would still be financially viable?
They,
Because
they, yeah, go ahead. What because?
um because they don't know if they would still attract the same size of audience. If they expand, they need a larger audience to sustain the expansion. So
Right.
they should also do a study to see what's the demand for their product, I guess.
Yes, they certainly can do a 5 forces. In a case like this, they would have to, because as you will, if you go ahead and Google and you look up 5 forces, you will notice that Porter sees competitive forces as not just the competition, as in who is in the same business as you, but 5 forces can also refer to a particular kind of stakeholder that is creating a barrier then to you being successful in whatever you're doing. So this is also true in this regard. A 5 forces would certainly assist. It wouldn't give you the money figures, but it will help in kind of, how to say, it will give support to when you do the financial analysis that will help to determine whether or not this thing could really work, could make sense or not. So for example, this wants to be like a, so it's right now it's a popular music production company, but with this expansion now it will become a full entertainment complex, right? So that as a full entertainment complex now, how does it safeguard against smaller entities going after niches and being able to hold on to those niches? How do they then make themselves? So that comes back now. The 5 forces now would probably come back now to also giving consideration to design as to how this thing will be laid out. So that's like one of the initial points that was made on it in terms of how that product should look or service. And that could also encompass the space itself, which is kind of like what Hilary was talking about. How does that space look now? That it can still appeal even to niche markets. That it doesn't have to be where people may shy away and say, oh no, I'm not going there, it's have too much of people. But rather that people would still come, even though we know it's a big space, and still feel comfortable to access what they may have come for, whether it's the nightclub or the performing arts studio, if they were going in to record music, for example. You see? Any other questions or comments? Okay. All right. So I think we can put a full stop there for today. And as we still have time, I would like to meet with persons who are desirous to go through this stuff, because we have the time. So Alimal, we can certainly do that if you want. If there's anyone else,
Definitely.
Hillary,
yeah,
myself
who
too as well will
wants
be
to stay
interested in
online.
that.
Janelle would like to as well.
I
Hillary.
think all of us.
Okay.
Yes.
I just want to check my last part of the practicum project sheet.
Okay, so I'm going to go on my Google first. Okay. All right. I just go with whoever. Joshua, you want me to review yours or no?
I think I'm good for now.
All right, so I'll pass that. Jaron, you good?
I mean, you could feel free to go ahead. It can't hurt.
Right, okay. Yeah, you good. Today's sick. Right, okay, that's fine.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Right. Let's see next. I find this form is so comprehensive and simple and nice. Makes sense. Nivedita, you want me to look at yours?
I think I'm okay.
Oh,
You need a name done, Nivedita. Oh Lord. I know that is not what it's going to be called. You have to think of a name.
Oh, okay.
Ah, let's see. Oh God, Joshua. That's interesting. Name. Come on, guys. Joshua, in the meantime, think of a name, right?
That's the name I wanted. Okay.
Yeah? No, man.
Yeah. All right.
We're
All right.
going for that. Who going and buy that? With that kind of name?
I find it unique. All right.
Oh,
All
such a
right.
nice project, and that is the name.
I go think again. I go think again.
Same thing with Nivedita. Oh Lord, like what is that? And what the acronym would be? Mew? Think of something dynamic, Nivedita, you know? Because remember, you have to market it online, so the name and everything. Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was just the concept. Okay.
No, the name. Nothing is wrong with the concept. As I get them, I am coming down the line. All right. Where am I now? Hillary, you want me to
Listening.
review yours?
Yeah.
You change up this? No, that's the wrong one. Oh God. I, the thing with this project though, Hillary, I need you to angle this on something creative though. Right now, there's more falling in the line of health.
I put sports.
Yeah, but that's not my area. I'm not teaching you sport. I am arts, culture, and enterprise management.
All right. I will put the health.
That no, no. It has to angle. I said right now, this is more on health. So the project needs to be angled on arts, culture, enterprise
Okay.
management.
Okay.
Do you understand? So this is a little too generalized in the sense that this doesn't fall into the requirements of the course. It's not a bad idea, but
Oh. Okay. I think I'll know
you
what I do.
understand?
Yeah. I think I know what I would do. Yeah.
Yeah, I know too, but I'm not gonna tell you. I'll wait and hear what you say. Which is where
Um.
I thought it was going.
Okay.
Um, When you said digital products, what's the digital products? This is Olimal. Where Olimal? Olimal here or no?
Yes, I'm right here. I'm right here. Sorry. You saw it?
Yeah, looking at it now. What is the digital products that you're creating?
Um, videos. Um, uh, as well as and the book. Well, an ebook as well as a written book as well as that's what I was
So the ebook is to what? What the ebook will have in it?
thinking. The ebook would have been done in different parts. Um, Eventually the entire book would have been written, for publication. But
What is going to be in the ebook? That's what I'm asking first.
The history, relevance, and of each of the oral traditions, and how they can be used educationally as educational tools.
Why is it being digitized? I'm not seeing the wow factor here as you are seeing it. I am seeing it, but you are not seeing it.
Okay.
So why is this book digital?
Why is it being digitized? That's the question you're asking. Why is it being digitized?
I'm asking you, yes.
Right. Because one, as a theater teacher, there's nothing anywhere about these art forms.
So there's nothing anywhere of what? What exactly? When you say of these, what about of these?
Of speech ban,
in terms of what?
As books for children or students to use for theaters or any of the is content returning.
Yeah, but why are you so afraid to say? Just say what the book will have in it. If I was writing a book on masquerade, somebody asked me over the old yard, I could tell them what the old yard is showing. So what is this book going to show?
Oh, okay, I understand.
Right? Why is this book being digitized? So it's an ebook that is showing what? Is it a set of words then? What is this ebook showing?
All right. So because of the fact, as of course, because of this period that we're in, a lot of the things that's normally a part of the Tobago Festival wasn't able to be shown or showcased at all for this year.
I thought they're showing it online.
Say again?
I thought they're showing it online.
No, not those aspects of it. Not those aspects of Tobago Festival at all. The oral traditions, none of it will ever.
So that's one reason, but this is, but what you have here is hinged on the education side.
Right.
So
as a theater teacher, Tobago Hedge Festival is one of the areas of study, and there's no information out there for children to access on digitally or otherwise in a book or anything.
What is the information? You keep saying there's no information out there. What information? Like what?
On all the oral traditions, speech ban is an original. What do you mean, like historical value?
Right.
Historical value. Oh, that's what I mean. Oh, the historical value of it, what it can be used for. It's a valid form of spoken word that people can connect to as a young person.
How do they know this? How
right.
is an ebook going to help the people to know this? Is this just another boring book?
No, of course not.
So what will make it different? What makes this different from any other book that might be focusing on some other aspect of heritage, even if it's not from Tobago? Yes, that's nice, Navidita. Right? What? I'm listening.
understand.
Trying to give you one more shot at this, but I want to answer. I will let you think or coming back to you.
I will think about it. No problem.
Because, that is part of the problem. You need to stop talking at the thing and just say what it is you got to find the unique thing of the project.
Okay.
Just to say it's a book, that's very vague. As an ebook dealing with the project, it's not a thesis you write, it's a business idea. What what is this
Well,
ebook going to have in it that will make people want this book? Because you could put it there and you could tell this how they go access it because you're a theater arts teacher and they don't have time, but they don't bound to. They really don't bound to.
okay.
Right?
And
What is it that this book can feature that, especially as it is digital, that would allow
okay.
for the students to really get this information and replace, in a sense, being able to go to the Heritage Festival to see.
All right. No problem. Understand.
Well, so what? You say you understand. So what? Like what so then?
Right. So okay. The idea of it is because I would have done different workshops as a facilitator on oral traditions in Tobago. I would have done workshops on speech band, storytelling, or folklore characters, and all of that. And there's interest. People are
What the
very much
workshops
interested.
will showcase. You keep saying I have done. This is amazing. That
Say
you
again,
just
and get the last question.
so what you was doing at the workshops? What the workshops showed the people?
How to use the oral traditions to express themselves and tell their stories.
So they actually did that, or you just talk about it?
Yes.
Well,
No.
Oliver, that is what the
Actually did
book's
that.
supposed to show. The book's supposed to
Right.
show the performance. So you have to say that. If not, then
Okay.
it's just another book.
All right.
So
Okay.
you have
Understand.
to go back. You have that too
And
generalized.
also, it's it's also using the idea of the oral traditions as a way of healing by getting the stories out.
I
And
don't
it
know if the book
worked
could do all of that.
actually. Wait, no, the oral tradition itself, in terms of getting a story out using a medium that you're comfortable with, in the language that you're accustomed speaking in.
Yeah, but I don't know if your book could do that. What it is you say you're doing for this? A feasibility?
No,
You
a
have to do.
strategic plan.
You have to do a feasibility plan. Definitely.
I didn't do a feasibility plan because this is something that I would have noticed over the years going to Heritage Festival that there's nothing out
No,
there. There's nothing. So I
no,
know there's a need for it.
no. You don't understand the difference. A feasibility plan is for something new. This has not been done yet.
True, it has not
You
been.
said there's a need, but you don't know. It may be a need for you, but you don't know if the market think is a need, especially if they've been functioning without it all this time and getting a great score. If you
Okay.
follow the thing, you see,
All right.
Online survey, digital survey.
you understand.
Yes, I do.
Right. So this has to be a feasibility study. All right. So you have to go back at this. But what I'm trying to show you is that you can't write this thing in general. Okay. So the idea of an ebook that features the particular components of the Heritage Festival of Tobago is a brilliant idea. But what you're not showing the brilliance of the project, which is that if this is an ebook, it should be an interactive ebook, Olemal. So when they click on something, they see a performance. When they click on something, you're hearing the oral tradition, not just the text, but it's audio visual, it's alive. So
Okay.
you have to bring that out in your document that anybody reading and say, aha, do you understand?
Yeah.
You get
Yeah.
it?
Yeah. Yep.
Right.
Yep. Yep.
So you fix that and
Definitely.
right. Thank you very much.
You're
And
welcome.
you really have to do that brainstorming and not feel as if it's not possible because the writing is going to require you to hit the nail on the head, so to speak.
All right.
You understand?
Yep. Thank you. Okay. Okay.
Right.
Okay. Right.
Um, Naomi,
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. I'm now pulling it here.
I think I didn't understand the last part. I was talking to Jaron, and I want to suspect I need to refocus the challenges. The challenges.
Yes, you definitely do. So you will fix that and right. You will fix that and resubmit. Correct is right.
Thank you. Thank you.
Jeremy, I'm looking at yours.
Yeah.
I cosplay, right? You doing this already? This project exists already?
It's something I want to do.
So why you doing a business plan? I just wondering.
Oh well, in
I
my
just asking. Huh?
telling me that marketing plan might be better, so I just stuck with the marketing.
It's just as you've fleshed it out even more here, but I just ask. It's not like it can't be done for this either. Right? Okay, that's fine. Okay. Who am I looking for? I'm just scrolling down through my email.
You're still in the Gmail, or you're going across
Yes,
to you?
I believe I should go across.
Mine should be there as well, Janelle. It's in both of you.
In the Outlook, the other one. Okay. Naomi, is she still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
You need to find a better name for your project, though.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought that was catchy.
No, go again.
No?
I
Okay
guess.
then.
I guess.
All right.
I mean,
I'll work on it. I'll work on it.
I guess. You could even do a little market research on that. Ask the committee what they think about that. You could. You could ask young ones because it's marketing you're trying to attract.
Yeah. Okay then.
Okay, I'm in the Outlook now. When you all send this?
I sent mine last night, 11 something.
And when you sent your site?
12:05.
Me too.
Mine could have been like 11:55 or something.
And mine would have been after Janelle's.
Yeah, you definitely need to work on that title, Janelle. But this is
On the what?
You have to work on that title.
Okay, cool, thanks.
But this is the old one?
No, I totally changed.
Yeah, just now. This is sent Thursday the 22nd. That's not the right one.
No, this was sent last night, Wednesday the 28th.
On which one? On the Gmail?
On both of them. Both of them. I normally send all assessments straight to both accounts.
Yeah, seeing Alicia's one, but I'm not seeing yours, but I'm seeing Alicia's one.
What is this? Oh shit! Sorry.
I'm still recording, yeah.
I'm sorry.
That, you know.
Oh, let me still hear any draft. Okay.
I'll edit the recording.
Okay.
I forgot that I still added recording.
Wow.
No eyes and knees, Psyche.
I didn't take out those.
No, don't write any first person.
So I changed all of that.
You sure you're watching the right one? Because remember, you was in the 20 somethings.
Because I made those changes.
All right, just now. Well, I'm not seeing either one or the thing then.
Look, mine is there now. It should be there now.
What I'm seeing here from you is date is 12:06 a.m. the 29th, yes?
Yeah. I sent mine just now. Let me
Well, I
make
see
sure
the
all the
October
drafts.
first on your document here, Alicia. I'm seeing I though, but take out the eyes.
Okay. I could just want to clean up all of that, you know.
Sent.
That's all. Just send these things on the Gmail. I don't trust this new Outlook.
Yeah.
Because I just can't. People be telling me they're sending me things and I don't see them.
Yeah. Look, I just it was in the draft still. Apparently, it never sent. Yeah.
Because I made all those. Shoot.
Where is where you doing a feasibility? Okay, that's fine. No, you know, Psyche's document is a really good example of what I was talking about. The fact that you identify so many challenges gives justification for why it should be a feasibility plan. You know that, right?
Yeah.
Yes, and that's very good. For those of you who are doing feasibility, you know, for whatever document you choose, your challenges should suggest why is it. And maybe in a sense, is Jeremy. Jeremy is the cosplay, right? Jeremy,
I think so.
Yeah.
yes, maybe that's why I asked the question. Perhaps you should revisit your challenges and see what you have there because the challenges that you identify here in this document should point out why is it that whatever plan you intend to do is the plan that you're doing. Do you understand? Because it's like you have a whole list there of things which makes sense and therefore give credence to why is it that you would be embarking on a feasibility plan for that project. So look and see, revisit your challenges again.
I see the I in the first section there, the project description, Dr. Dull.
Yeah.
I forgot that I.
Yeah.
All right. I forgot that I. Okay.
Tuesday to Friday again.
Drama. Sorry.
But other than the I, Dr. Tull, I need to make any other changes?
No.
Oh,
And
okay.
Janelle, you would know the comment I just made to Alicia about how she developed her limitations and challenges. I would suggest you do the same as well. This can't just be it. You know, and again, like I always have to caution you, I need for you to think of this as a business and not as a creative thing. This is a business. So, what are the challenges that you foresee in this project happening? Not with the creative side of it. Do you understand? It's not this is a business that you're exploring.
What probably I needed to use the word buy in there instead.
But this is just only one. If that is the case, then you only see one challenge. Why are you doing a feasibility study? Even though we know it should be a feasibility study. What are the challenges that the project can encounter that justify the need? It's just like the example that I gave there, the one I constructed. If you notice, there were a few things going on up inside of there that give justification for why it should be a feasibility study. You see?
Yeah.
Right. So I want you to work on that, please.
Okay, just the limitations.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, for now. Let me see that. You might have to go at it again, but I need because for me, I think it's in some instances how you write. I recognize that you need to shift over to how we write business wise.
Okay.
So some of it more comes like if you're writing a thesis, and of course that's not what we're doing here. Yes, I need you to bend your head around and away from that.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I'm not worried for you because it just is it's just what you're accustomed doing.
Okay.
You know, but you are correct. It is a feasibility study you should be doing, and what you put there for that is fine. The impact is okay.
Hi, Dr. Soliver, just sent you the
Right. Okay. So that's your final there now?
I would hope so.
Okay, no problem. All right. Yes, the challenges, Janelle. I went and reopened it just to be sure.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, again, I'm missing somebody. Oh, yes.
Dr. Todd, this is Jeremy again. So mine could be my final, right?
Did I tell you anything? I'm trying to remember now. What
Yeah,
is
I
it?
said my
No, what I was saying to you is your limitations.
right.
That I think because of the way you structure your limitations, it does not speak to why is it that a marketing plan is needed.
Okay, all right,
Because
understand now. Yeah.
limitations, yeah, you kind of falling in Janelle's category a bit. Same thing, right? I need
Right.
to think of this as a business. Don't think of
Right.
the creative side of it, right? It's not
Okay.
creative arts project. This is creative entrepreneurship we're doing now. You see?
Yeah, I understand.
Right. So that definitely needs to fix. Okay, now I'm
Dr. Celery, could you remind me what area I have to fix, actually,
if I could remind you.
of the area I have to fix?
Right. So what I am saying is where yours is concerned, strong business idea and all of that, but it's not hinged within the creative performing arts or anything like that. So a suggestion, why not say that this is directed at people who are in performers that like dancers and
I was
people
going to
who,
say that, you know.
yes, you need to angle it,
Okay.
right? And we know that the dance field isn't just people who do ballet, but people who sing with soca artists and
Because
who
I
are
put
in
a few in it.
theater. Huh?
I put a few in it. I
But
put
it
a
needs to angle
that's
this.
it, yeah.
It needs to,
Okay.
even if you still say sports, it needs to be more on the side of that whole thing you were talking about in terms of muscle treatment, right?
Okay.
But if you leave it like that, then that's more like a general business, like any other
Okay.
stuff.
Okay. No problem.
And whilst it is considered a lifestyle good and service, it still doesn't fit squarely with arts
Mm-hmm.
enterprise. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's just your focus, just angle it.
Okay then.
Right.
Thank
Uh,
you.
okay, that is the name now, so that is it there. I don't know why it says Steel Adventures. That sounds like a game.
You find so?
Yeah.
For me, with the first one with the project, I don't know, is that trying to create that adventure.
Steel Adventures.
All right,
SPL Adventures. It
still
sounds
adventure. All
more.
right, I'm gonna resend it.
Yeah. You can fix it after, but that can stay.
Okay.
Right. Malena, watching yours now.
Can you all hear me? Good evening.
Good evening. Yes, hearing you.
Okay. I have been getting in trouble with this silly thing for the entire evening.
Oh Lord. Right. That is fine. Right. So, Malena, your limitations and challenges should also include things that reinforce why a marketing plan is needed for this ebook.
It's meaning.
Hmm?
Meaning.
Meaning that the limitations and challenges that you have here are to do with the creative thing itself, the process or the
Oh, it's
content.
okay. It
But
needs to
there
reflect
are
the
no
plan.
challenges identified there that give reason for why is a marketing plan that you should be doing.
Oh, okay. I
You see?
thought it was okay. Got it.
Yeah, it's all.
Okay.
Okay. Yes, you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, but everything else is
Yes.
workable. Okay.
So, okay. Well, thank you. I think I've seen everybody.